You know, the reason why you might be frozen in life, filled with maybe depression, nihilistic, deprived of life, feelings that your life is boring, might be because you're not allowing yourself to be a fool, that you fear looking stupid and becoming the hero in your story, actually daring to be a fool, to actually accomplish what it is that you have envisioned of yourself, a dream, a passion. Because the fool, what I mean by fool, is not somebody that's stupid. Maybe that might look stupid to people outside, but I'm talking about the archetype that Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung talked about. This idea of an archetype, which is a conscious and unconscious aspect of the human mind that have manifest through different myths and stories throughout the world and history, and that can be even found, this pattern that can be even found in even anime and manga today. When we look at the archetype of the fool, we see somebody who has this kind of innocence and freedom in its approach to life, that is more free and spontaneous. It doesn't really worry so much about the future and the past. It's open to new experiences. It's the beginning, the start of potential. The one that embarks on the journey, on the adventure, and hopes. Through anime, you see many characters like Naruto, or even Luffy in One Piece, that have these big dreams, hopeful look, to be the Hokage in One Piece. It's Luffy to be the king of the pirates. There's this hopefulness, innocence, and freedom that might not be fully aware of the challenges that await them on their journey, but that still they dare to become those fools to be made fun of. When people ask, who do you think you are? Daring and trying to become those things. Look at who you are right now. And there's this idea of, again, when you think about it logically, anybody that hoped ever becoming somebody, they had to go through that in comfort of seeing who they could be and who they are right now, instead of saying, who am I to say this, instead of agreeing with those voices that tend to say, look at all these people who have better chances than you. They decided to bank on themselves. People might call this a fool, but I think in a certain point you have to make a choice to be looked like as a fool if you want to become a hero. They also tend to have this ability to be joyful and free. They laugh in the face of calamity and disaster, saying that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, which allows them to advance even through failure and hardship. Because failure and hardship are often the times, or even the fear, the imagination of those things can be the things that stop us from walking forward. Because you know what? It's understanding that pain is normal, it's part of the path of attaining to greater heights. You know, the more suffering, the more gigantic your dream is, the more you can expect suffering to temper you, to test you. Rejoice in your suffering, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. Romans 3:3-5. And you see this aspect in many of those characters that are joyous in freedom, but also go through a trial, but manage to keep that innocence. I think about characters like Yuji and JJK, Invincible, Luffy, Naruto, Spider-Man. They all have this aspect of being hopeful, but being able to go through that tempering. And they're the character we tend to be attached to, because we don't tend actually to be attached to people who just succeed, but those who try, even though they fail, and have the ability to get back up. They inspire that thing inside of us. The author Jordan Peterson says this: it doesn't matter that something you do, it's imperfect. It just matters that you do it and that you move forward. And another quote of his is, if you collapse, it's not an indication that you failed. It's an indication that it's hard. But us humans, again, this process is necessary to temper us, to allow us to become the vision, the dream, the hero that we see in ourselves, as we're only that shape of potential. Because sometimes we decide to just stay in that egg instead of facing the adventure, the outside world. The fool is the one that allows you to become who you're afraid to be. Instead of trying to be logical to manage how is it going to work out, they have this spontaneity to actually dare. And often we tell ourselves, it's possible for everybody else but not us. How does that make sense? The fool is the one that at least allows you to act it, attempt it, The one that can see the space between the here and there and say, I'm going to try and make a fool out of myself even if I fail. That's part of the process. So we need to learn how to change our relationship with failure. Take into account that there are resistant shadows, monsters that we try to avoid. Either it's external or internal, and that we tend to run away from. But it's looking at this cross point between our adventure, our passion, that fire inside of us, and what we fear. This is where our treasure is. This is where we have to fight the dragon. This is where we have to move towards. And often that's the path that we've crossed away and told ourselves, no, I can find the path of least resistance, where I have less the ability to, that's the part where we have to confront the part of ourselves that needs to change, the part of us that need to die to be transformed to a new man. Instead, we can look away from that and take the easy path. But it's easy, but it doesn't satisfy our soul. That's asking, so we kind of exchange those challenges into other lifestyles, where we maybe drugs, video games, food, just to satisfy that high that we would actually get in fighting our rivals, our enemies, our challenges, the adventure that we read in books and games that we don't allow ourselves to live in this life. So again, I think about it. I think how this dynamic of failure can be inculcated into us when we're young. I think about my older brother when he was learning mathematics from my parents, and my parents were harsh with him. At first it was like, okay, he had trouble, but then soon they always end up screaming, telling things like, how can you have trouble with this and that? And I'd see my brother's face just downtrodden, just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And it's like this failure, it's like the failure that he had at learning mathematics became a failure that he introduced into himself. He was a failure. And the habit that we have is, I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to stay away from that uncomfort. It's not fun. And so maybe it's taking a look at the things in life where we've had failures and we've abandoned, when we have bad relationships, and just taking the time to allowing ourselves to say it's fine, if it's part of the process, that it's normal sometimes that we fail at things, and that we learn, and that we redirect our aim. And think of all the things that you've succeeded to. Take into account the things that you've succeeded that have taken you time to learn that you failed. Most of us that are watching this video, you can think of something easily. Walking. You weren't even conscious, you were a baby, and yet you still understood that. You fell down, you got up, you fell down, and now you know how to walk. Or what? Bicycle. What are the skills that you've developed, that you've tried, and that you understand that process, that pressure creates diamond and fire refines the gold? The pain of sacrifice. Because if you don't take that pain of sacrifice to learn, then you'll pay the pain of sacrifice of staying still. And it can be this comfort, this slow comfort, this slow warmth that kind of kills you, as you slowly see the image of who you could be disappear. But no, I think that's the time to start taking action on whatever it is that you want. To say it's fine if I'm a fool, if I look like a fool, if I fail. You can let the others mock if you want, but you understand that it's normal. And so walk forward with your head held high. And go for it. That's all for today. Peace.